So I'm going to give this a couple more seconds for some people to join us. So hang loose. All right, it's 12:30 and it is time to get started. Welcome to my webinar Wednesday on reverse mortgages. Off the top, I want to stress that you see it says that I'm a reverse mortgage specialist, and I like that to mean that I specialize in educating people on reverse mortgages. I'm not trying to convince anyone that they need one, but if you're educated on it, it is a very useful tool to providing financial security in retirement and helping you outlast your, helping your money outlast you. I have done far more, exponentially more reverse mortgage seminars than I have done reverse mortgages. I am by trade a forward mortgage person, and usually you don't cross the two. But my parents, about 14 years ago or so, they crossed over into that 62-year-old threshold that it takes to do a reverse mortgage, and there's a definition right there. We started, my brother and I started the reverse mortgage division of the company that we were working for. And I thought that it would be in their interest to at least look into it. They're two very different people. My mom is not a numbers person. My father is. She's afraid of them, wouldn't even allow me to talk about them to her. Up until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when she retired a little bit early and did a little bit more research and understood it. My father's always been game for it. He's just trying to be strategic about it. But for those who don't know, the definition is if you're 62 years, you can use the equity that you've built up in your home to access that equity for there's a variety of ways you can use it, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But the first thing I advise people to do is check out the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association website, which is reversemortgage.org. They're kind of the watchdog for reverse mortgages. You can find out anything you want to know about reverse mortgages. There's a reverse mortgage calculator that's pretty accurate. The home equity conversion mortgage, which is an FHA product, is what 99% of the reverse mortgages are. Outstanding product, believe it or not. So let me dig into the myths of a reverse mortgage. Myth number one, the lender owns the home. Back when they first came out in the 60s, they were a proprietary product, and there was a caveat that the lender did own your home and could take it from you. With the HECM, that is no longer an option. Just like a forward mortgage, your name is on the title and the lender's name is on there as a mortgage. The difference between the forward and reverse is, and with the reverse, you're actually accessing money. And oftentimes just not having to pay a mortgage is an advantage for some people. If you're 62 and you think about what you're paying in your mortgage, let's say it's $1,200, what would that $1,200 do for you financially on a monthly basis if you were receiving that as long as you lived in the house? So yes, the lender does not own the home. You are on the title of the home. Myth number two, what happens, and one of the first questions I always get is, what if the house is upside down when we go to sell it? or we want to move out of it. There used to be what's called a recourse, where you had to pay the difference between what the sale price is and the loan amount. Couple of things to say that. Number one, the only way they can take your house is if you're not paying your taxes and insurance on it, or you don't live in the house for a year, and technically 364 days. The other thing about that recourse, no matter what happens, if the house is sells for less than the loan amount, you only owe what that sale price is. There is no recourse on that loan. And another thing that people often worry about with that is, when they're going to sell the house. I'm going to get into this a little bit later in the detail here about how the reverse mortgage is actually more advantageous than a forward mortgage when you go to sell the house. But on to myth number 3, the home must be free and clear of any existing mortgages. That is not true. What happens is, if you do have a mortgage on that property, that is paid off first, and then the rest of the proceeds are factored into what you qualify for in the reverse mortgage. With that, myth number 2, where there was a recourse, one of the other things, these kind of coincide, is with the reverse. I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. When they're figuring out what you qualify for, that number used to be roughly your age minus 13, whatever that was the percent of the equity you could access. And about 6 or 7 years ago, they reduced that number so that you couldn't access as much of your equity. And then if you throw in what's going on now with inflation, very rarely is your house going to be upside down. But anyway, that's myth number 3. Myth number 4, once the loan proceeds are received, you pay taxes on them. That equity in the house is equity that you have built up. That is your money, so you are not taxed. And it does not affect your Medicare. It can affect Medicaid, depending on how you choose to access the money. And that's one of those things where I refer people to an elder care specialist and a financial planner. Financial planners, I probably should have said this at the top too. Usually when I do a reverse mortgage consult, I ask that potential borrower to have anybody in the room or on Zoom who they trust. It could be a relative, it could be a family friend, a business associate. And I also highly recommend that a financial planner is involved, because the best way to approach it is, what is your end game? How does a financial planner help you do that? And they can advise you on, like, you can't access that money from your house and give it to a financial planner. That's not legal. But at least they can tell you, where you're sitting equity wise. If you have this money that you're getting on a monthly basis, what you should be doing with it. So they're really, I think they're probably just as important as I am as a reverse mortgage lender. Myth number 5, the borrower is restricted on how to use the loan proceeds. Now, there's several ways that you can access the money. At the top, I have no mortgage payment. You are not paying on a reverse mortgage. You are not paying a monthly mortgage. There's no more payment. So at the very least, as I mentioned before, you're going to be net positive of whatever you were paying in principal and interest. You can also do a monthly payment if you have enough equity. And there's 2 types of monthly payments. There's a term and a tenure. The term is, let's say you only think you're going to live in the house for 10 years. So it would be factor into how much you can access. The lower the term, the more access money you will be able to access. Excuse me. The 10-year payment is using an actuarial table as if you're going to live in it for the rest of your life. And that's going to be a lower monthly payment. And everybody is different. Sometimes the 10-year makes more sense. Sometimes the term makes more sense. And that all comes out with the initial consultation. You can also take it out in a lump sum in cash. And that's usually the fixed product, because you can do reverse mortgages as an adjustable rate mortgage or a fixed rate. Those monthly payments and the line of credit, and you can do fixed on all of them, but usually the ARM makes more sense to do on the monthly payment and the line of credit. And then the line of credit is also another option where you are accruing interest in the money that you access. And they don't give it to you all at once. They give you a certain percent in year one and then the rest in year two. And that money grows based on the interest rate. Myth number 6, only the following should look into reverse mortgages. Those who have no money and those that are in dire need, sometimes they're one and the same. That is not true. Yeah, that often does bail a lot of people out. And actually reverse one of the really excellent ways people use it is get out of a foreclosure situation. But how are people using their reverse mortgages? And some of these things, most of these things you can find on the reversemortgage.org website. Paying off debt. A lot of baby boomers, for you, those that don't keep track, baby boomers and millennials are the two largest populations in the country. Baby boomers are dwindling, but millennials are catching up just because they're aging out. But they're outliving their money. Their parents taught them, pay off that mortgage as soon as you can. And what they're finding is they're outliving their money. So they want to be a little bit more secure financially. And that's one way people are using reverse mortgages. Children and grandchildren is a very popular way that reverse mortgages are being used. Grandparents and parents are giving it to their kids. And if you understand the present value of money, giving it to them right now and putting it somewhere where it's going to be compounding interest, which is the 8th wonder of the world, it'll be worth more to them than when you pass away. With my parents, I don't want their home. They changed my diapers. That's their money. So as far as I'm concerned, burn it while you can. And if they get to enjoy it, then my parents don't have any grandchildren yet, but giving it to the kids or giving it to the grandchildren gives people a lot of joy because they get to witness that. You can even set it up in a trust fund. If you have a child that's not good with money, you can put it into a trust fund and pick a time when they can actually access it. People are using it for travel. Winnebago's another popular one, just traveling around the country, seeing all the little nooks and crannies of the United States, boats, planes. There's a guy who's a pilot, and there's a community that their driveways, it's down here in Florida, their driveways are actually a runway. So he used the money to build a plane. So there is no limit. Your imagination is the limit on what you can use a reverse mortgage for. But you just want to have a game plan, and I'm there to work with your accountant and financial planner to make sure you realize that dream. Myth number 7, you can only use a reverse mortgage to refinance. There is a reverse for mortgage product, very popular down here in Florida. Number one, because a lot of people are retiring here and they understand the product. One of the popular ways people are retiring or downsizing is they'll sell their big house. Let's say they net out $350,000 cash. They'll take that cash and put it directly into a $350,000 house down here in Florida. There's nothing wrong with that because you don't have a mortgage, but in my opinion, especially in this economy, cash is king. So as much money as you can keep in your pocket as possible, I think is a good thing. And depending on your age, and the calculation with the HECM is the same no matter where you go to find that calculation. You may be able to only throw out $150,000 worth of cash and keep the other half in your savings account or whatever investment vehicle that you want to use, and you're not going to have a monthly mortgage payment. So that's a double whammy on the positive side. So yeah, reverse purchase again. That reversemortgage.org has the calculators. You can do it. Obviously, I can do that. I would start at this website, reversemortgage.org. Dig into it. It's a pretty deep rabbit hole, but it also will generate lots of questions. And if you have questions, if you want to run scenarios, you can always reach out to me. That's my cell phone. It's on 24/7, or you can email me. But I really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Well, does not look like we have any questions. Don't be shy to reach out to me again, 814-777-0757. Have a fantastic day. I really appreciate your attention. Take care.